everyone, my name is Kim, and this afternoon we're going to continue with the Enneagram types and how they are correlated to certain mental health issues. I had finished doing type 3 yesterday, and today, I'm just going to do one type. It's just going to be a short video. We are going to talk about type 4. So type 4 is the romantic. So I'm going to give you a little bit of a brief overview of type 4. So type 4s are very creative. That is their way of expressing themselves, whether it's through painting, through making jewelry, also creative in a sense that they'd be interested in photography or maybe graphic design or something, or being a fashion designer, an interior designer. So type 4s, they're in the heart realm in the Enneagram book. So they're Enneagram 4s. They are sensitive. They're like I said, they're creative. They're all about self-expression. So they may, and what I mean by self-expression, I mean there's many ways we could do that, but 4s, they can maybe sew their own outfit, and it's going to be something unique, something different, something that no one has. 4s are like that, they want to be unique. They do stand out. They don't do what everyone else is doing. So they have this individualistic side to them. They just want to do their own thing, and not, kind of following the social norms and, what's popular for women to dress like, or, they're all about just, doing their own thing, being individualistic, marching to the beat of their own drum. But they do have this kind of romantic side to them. They're when it comes to finding someone to be their boyfriend or a marriage mate or something, they would want a partner or spouse to accept that they're an individualist. They don't do what everyone else is doing. They're expressing themselves, in a different way. So that is what makes them unique. Okay, so 4s, like they kind of have an idealized kind of way when it comes to picking someone to be, their marriage mate or a boyfriend or partner or something. And what I mean by idealize, like there's certain things, certain qualities that they want, in a boyfriend or a marriage mate, or just someone they're interested in. Um, and that's how it is with them when it comes to looking for someone, dating, getting married, all that stuff. They view themselves as very unique, you know. No one's like them, um, you know, and the kind of the downfall of that is that you know, being individualistic and not following social norms. They're misunderstood. They're judged, and so, being that way, an individualistic kind of person, it can be both, a blessing or a curse, something bad. Um, okay, now I'm going to talk about type 4s and what mental illnesses they correlate with their type. So type 4s, they can be very overly sensitive. Like, there are people in this world who are sensitive, and it's not a weakness, it's a strength, but, when it can be taken to extreme, being sensitive. And so what I mean is that if someone, maybe is just giving them some advice or just a constructive, not constructive criticism, but just advice, that, and letting that person know that, this is, they're not judging the type 4, that, it's out of good intentions. But when 4s, when they're unhealthy and they have mental illnesses or something, which they do, but they can be overly sensitive. Like, you can't tell them anything really, or like you feel like you're walking on eggshells around them because they're so overly sensitive. And also they struggle with self-identity. Okay, so meaning that, okay, where do I fit in society? I'm a unique person. Where do I fit in, in this world today? And so they kind of have those, the self-identity issues, because they're individualistic. For people like that, it's hard to fit in to society and social norms. So yeah, I could see if someone, values being, individualistic and just being unique, but it has its downfalls or setbacks. The 4s are misunderstood by people. People may view them as being way too sensitive. They can't take advice. They'll take it the wrong way. Or family members will come up and say to them, why do you have to dye your hair green or purple or pink? And the 4 is like, well, I want to do something different, with my hair, and no one else is doing it, and I want to do it. I want to be unique, and so they get judgment from their family, because they're just way out of the social norm, the society's rules on how women should behave and dress and wear their hair and all that stuff. Also, they struggle with chronic depression. and they suffer from mood disorders. So their moods are up or down. So, okay, so let's talk about the chronic depression. Now, that can be a serious thing if it is not being dealt with. With fours, they like being unique, standing out. No one is doing this. But, when they are not accepted into, say at high school, they're kind of just sitting there on the sidelines. No one wants to talk to them. The fours has no, doesn't know, where they fit in, and generally with high school, you're in certain circles, different circles, and so fours weren't really into any circles. And this is the same with, when they grew up to be adults, and they still have that self-expression and wanting to be unique and different. But, society does not take that very well. And they judge the fours. And with all the judgment, with all the being misunderstood, can cause depression. And if it's not dealt with, it could be chronic. And that could be very serious. They also struggle with having their moods fluctuate. There are times when their mood is, they're happy, they are, enjoying their life. Just they feel meaning and purpose in their life. They're doing something, that they enjoy, and, and maybe something that could benefit, their family, or if they do make a friend, they, want to just do things that friends do and enjoy. Going to movies, or going for coffee or something like that. Okay, and then the mood swings. So then they have the lows, which is where chronic depression comes in. So their lows are very low. The chronic depression, it could lead to very dangerous behavior. So if it is not diagnosed and treated. So that's the, they suffer from low self-esteem, so low self-esteem, asking themselves, where do I fit into society? They're so misunderstood, that they just feel that they can't fit in anywhere, and so that is the 4’s. And I'm way over my time here, so I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you enjoy this video, and I will talk to you guys in the next video, and the next video will be talking about type 5. All right, bye.